Okay, voila. So part 2 of our verb review, present tense verb review. So this is where we left off. You had paused to put verbs like acheter in your notes. And here are the answers to your starter. Bon, bref. Oh boy. Things get messy when it's late. This, I hope you noticed, is not promène. It's promène. Je promène. Voilà. OK, ça va. Bon, bref. OK. Quels autres verbes? What other verbs did you learn in French 1 that we need to review? Verbs like appeler. Pause the recording and write these conjugations down in your notebook. Okay, appeler, this is the first verb you ever saw because you know what you learned in French 1? Je m'appelle. So it does look like an ER verb and the verb endings are ER verb endings. However, you double the last consonant in the boot. So without that extra L, this would be j'appelle, tu appelles. But we don't want that. We want j'appelle. Now, what does j'appelle mean? It means I call, like Lassie, come home. I call the dog. Whereas je m'appelle, I call myself. My name is. Voilà. So other verbs like appeler, well, there's appeler, jeter, to throw, épeler, to spell, rappeler, to recall or remember. So pause the recording, get this type of verb onto your verb card. And here are the answers to your starter. Inside the boot, you double the consonant, the last consonant, after taking off the ER, and then the endings are regular ER verb endings. Bon, there's another group of verbs called accent aigu plus consonant plus la terminaison ER. So if it's an ER verb and it has a consonant or a diphthong before the ER, and there is an E with an accent aigu just in front of that, then you do something different. So take a look at these verbs. Notice ER, diphthong, E with an accent aigu, ER, consonant, E with an accent aigu, ER, consonant, E with an accent aigu. That's what I mean by this pattern. So do your best. Pre-test, try to conjugate those 3, pause the recording, put it in your notebook, and we'll get the answers in a minute. Okay, so this accent aigu, consonant plus ER group of verbs has to have a change. You guessed it, in the boot. So what happens in the boot is that this E with the accent aigu changes to an E with an accent grave, but only in the boot. Let's take a look at an example. So like any other ER verb, you take off the ER ending, add these endings, and then we switch the accent in the boot. Let's imagine how it would sound if the accent were the other way. Je célèbre. Tu célèbres. We don't want that. We want je célèbre. Tu célèbres. Il célèbre. However, here we want that hard sound. Nous célébrons. Vous célébrez. Il célèbre. Are you starting to hear the difference? So, other verbs like célébrer, espérer, répéter, préférer. Préférer, you definitely saw last year, and you used it a lot. So pause the recording and copy down something onto your verb card for verbs like célébrer, and then also add the couple of other verbs. And here are the answers to your starter. Je célèbre, nous préférons, Bob répète. Okay, these are boot verbs like payer. Oh, sorry, thought I had a boot there. Imagine there's a boot drawn there. And what happens with these verbs is you change the Y to I in the boot. If this were a Y, it would be pronounced je paye, tu payes. but we want it to sound je paie, tu paies, on paie. So that's the difference. However, outside of the boot, payons, payer. We need a sound like that in order to handle the hard sound after the Y. Now, you might argue with me and say, but in places like Belgium, they don't change the Y to I ever, and they say je paye. And that's true. And for that reason, I'm not going to hassle you about Y to I verbs. If you want to spell it with the Y, I'm going to accept it. Just keep in mind, it's probably a good habit to change the Y to I, because not all of your graders, when you get up to the seal of biliteracy and when you get up to the AP exam, they're not all going to be as open to less official French. And I know that's not fair to the rest of the world, but if you're planning on following French academically, get in the habit of changing that Y to an I in the boot. Okay, pause the recording and copy that one, YER verbs, onto your note card, your verb card, sorry. Okay, our old friends vouloir and pouvoir. I dare you to go to France and never use these verbs. These verbs are always used. Vouloir means to want, and pouvoir means to be able to. So it's I want, I can. To be able to, we don't say, I am able to study French. I can study French. It's a can verb. So pause the recording and try to conjugate these verbs. Okay, so here we have vouloir. Is there a pattern? Let's conjugate the verb first of all. Je veux, tu veux, il veut, nous voulons, vous voulez, ils veulent. Should listen and repeat a couple of times. The EU is sometimes difficult for students to pronounce. So notice there's a silent X and T on the end here, but we do hear the L's there. L's in the plural, maybe that's a pattern. Notice it changes from OU to EU in the boot. Maybe that's a pattern. Outside the boot, it stays OU. If you see a pattern, fantastic. Either way, pause the recording and copy this verb onto your verb card. And the other verb is pouvoir. Pouvoir is very similar to vouloir. I hope you can see. Let's listen and repeat. Je peux, tu peux, il peut, nous pouvons, vous pouvez, ils peuvent. And here are the answers to the starter. Nous pouvons, je peux, ils veulent, vous voulez. I believe that's the end of the practices. We're just going to look at some verbs. This is the verb devoir, which means to have, must. Je dois, I have to. Sorry, it means to have to, not to have. To have to. So when I say, je dois étudier, I'm saying I have to study. I can't go out. I must study. So it's like the must verb. Let's listen and repeat. Je dois, tu dois, il doit, nous devons, vous devez, ils doivent. So pause the recording and get this copied onto your verb card. Next, the verb voir, to see. Hopefully you saw this verb last year. Voilà. Listen and repeat. Je vois, tu vois, il voit, nous voyons, vous voyez, il voit. Pretty similar to devoir. Pause and get this on your verb card. And you probably can't make it long in France without the verb boire. Is there a pattern? Well, it's very similar so far to devoir and voir. So if that helps you keep it straight, all the better. Let's listen and repeat. Je bois, tu bois, il boit, nous buvons, vous buvez, ils boivent. Pause the recording. Get this written on your verb card. Several times I know we've seen and written down the verb lire en classe. Here's an opportunity to écouter et répéter. So let's écoute et répète. Je lis, tu lis, il lit, Nous lisons, vous lisez, ils lisent. Notice in the plural, the S, because it's surrounded by two vowel sounds, it makes a Z sound. So there you go. Pause the recording and get that written down. Et voilà, same pattern if you're seeing a pattern. Écrire, to write. Écoutez, répétez. J'écris, tu écris, il écrit, nous écrivons, vous écrivez, ils écrivent. Pause the recording. Write this down in your verb card. And actually, that is the last verb that we're going to do for today. Hopefully, I've covered everything that you need to know for tonight's homework and also for your upcoming verb quiz, present tense verb quiz that you can use your verb card for. Hooray! So make sure that verb card works for you. Make sure you can find stuff on it, color code it, write it clearly. They can go home with you tonight if you haven't finished and you want to finish watching this recording at home. But from henceforward, they live in your folder in the classroom. OK, merci pour votre travail. Alors, à la prochaine.